Hey, it's Adam here from Music Radar. I am back with another episode in our fantastic free synth series. This time I'm looking at Magical 8-Bit Plug version 2. This is a fantastic little chiptune 8-bit plugin made by the Japanese chiptune band YMCK. This is the interface here, and it may look very simple, and it is actually very simple, but the beauty of chiptune music is in its simplicity. We're going to dive into this, see what sort of sounds it can make, and see how we can recreate those classic 80s era sounds. So here's what it sounds like by default. You can already hear that classic Game Boy NES sound. That's down to it using those low-resolution, crunchy waveforms. Speaking of waveforms, you get a selection up the top here. There's only one oscillator in the synth, and you've got a pulse square, you've got a triangle, and you've got a noise oscillator. Also at the top, you've got a simple gain slider and a polyphony mode. Now, if you're going for completely authentic, you want to set that to mono, which you can do with a button press here. So I can only press one note at a time. Let's just switch that back to a pulse. But this synth can go all the way up here, so you can have lots of different voices at one time play chords. There's also an advanced options checkbox. We can see pops out some extra options at the bottom, which we'll look at later. When you hit the mono button, you also get some extra options here. So you can have the behavior of how the notes sound, so legato, arpeggios, and non-legato. And if you want to set it to legato, you have a portamento slider. So you get that nice slide. So that's great for creating interesting melodies, but also these kind of arcadey sound effects as well. Switching it over to arpeggio, you've got the interval of the arpeggio there. So if I play that simple major chord. So that's giving it really fast arpeggio, which is something that those old game consoles used to do a lot. And you've also got standard kind of arpeggios, for example, like 30-second notes, which is a bit slower. And you've also got the option for a slider. So using that arpeggio as a kind of sound design tool, which is not something you do really on modern synths, but was something they did a lot back on those old games consoles, getting the most out of absolutely nothing and really getting creative with the tools available to them. You've also got in the pulse wave a duty drop down, so that's giving you basically the pulse width. So it sounds very different. Let me just switch it back to legato. That's 12.5% is 25%, and 50%. So you get a much thinner, kind of nasally tone as you drop that percentage down. You get similar options in the noise wave, set as default to 4-bit pure random, 1-bit long cycle. So yeah, you're going to be very familiar with those sorts of noise sounds if you've ever played a kind of old arcade game or a Game Boy or something like that. You've got controls here for the envelope, attack, case, sustain, release, pretty standard stuff in synthesis. And you've also got a bend range, which I really like. So that's the normal pitch bend, and that can go all the way up to 2 octaves. Lots of fun. Let's just knock that back down for now, and we've got over here there's an auto bend. So that's going to automatically bend into the notes, either from up into the note or from down. There you get some pretty cool kind of sound effect type things. And you can set the time that takes as well. Let's see. This really gives you the tool to use some of those techniques that these old programmers and musicians were using to get that incredible sounds out of very, very primitive hardware. Down here you've got a vibrato section, which is what you might imagine. Let's just get the auto pitch naught again. So we've got a kind of pure tone. Let's put the depth up, and that's going to give us a nice vibrato. So length is kind of your speed of the vibrato. Depth is how much that's going up and down. And you've got a delay, which if you set it as naught, that's going to come in straight away. If you set it higher, it's going to let the note ring out as normal and then bring in the vibrato after a certain time. And at the moment I've got it set to ignore wheel, but you can turn that off and use the mod wheel on your keyboard to activate that as well. Which is super useful if you're going to be playing this thing live at all, or just playing in stuff to be recorded. And that is pretty much it for the main controls there. Again, super simple, but you can get a lot out of that, and you can make some really authentic sounds. I can go to the advanced options again. You've got a nice option to change the color, which is always fun. And you've got these envelopes down the bottom. So you've got an option for volume envelope, pitch envelope, and duty, which only applies to the pulse square duty. So this basically allows you to create more complex envelopes for volume and pitch and duty than you can get out of just the interface alone. It's a bit heavy on the coding. You've got to input this stuff by text, but it's not too complicated. You can see when I click that there, it says it's overridden by custom envelope. So you can get really clever with this if you want to. It uses frames as a timing, which is working on a 60 frames per second. So one frame is 1/60th of a second. And you can input things like the volume range and then the level of that. So I can create a simple attack envelope here by typing in something like 0 to 15. And it gives you some prompts down the bottom there as you're typing it in, which is quite nice. It's telling me I need to be input in, basically. So I'm going to do that now. In, and then I'm going to go for 60 frames. So that's going to go from volume 0 to volume 15 in 60 frames, just 1 second. And if I tick that, that should override the envelope I've got here. And let's hold down a note and see if that works. So that's fun to dig into. It's pretty simple to do. You can create commas in there and do another value and make an actual complete envelope. So yeah, you get into that. It makes you feel like you're a proper programmer, which is fun. Again, you can do similar things with the pitch and the duty envelopes. If you want to get digging into that, check out the Magical 8-bit documentation for that. I'm not going to go too deep into it here. But that is about it. There's no presets included. It's super simple. It's designed to be super simple. It's designed to let you work as those old programmers would have worked, but in a really much more up-to-date and user-friendly way. And I really like it. It gets super authentic sounds. And definitely go listen to some YMCK music, because it's an absolutely fantastic example of what you can do with very little. But yeah, that's it for now. This is a free download, of course, and there'll be more fantastic free synth videos very soon.